Hello. I wanted to talk about drawing the unknown, and the secret to that is finding the known. So, if you have a little bit of drawing confidence, I would assume you'd be able to draw straight lines. You would be able to ghost lines, which involves practicing drawing a line before you execute it. Drawing like C curves, S curves of some variety, ellipses, and being able to add like three dimensionality to whatever form you can. So, whenever you're presented with something unknown, try to think about the knowns. So, like, you have to think that everything you draw is going to have like some type of anatomy to it if it's an organic thing. So more often than not, you can Google like the anatomy of a given thing. I draw a lot of insects and arachnids, and a big thing that I always try to do is I try to Google the anatomy of that given bug, because I feel like it gives insight into things I'm not really sure what they are. And it's like, I always feel like, it's important to draw those things, or otherwise I wouldn't draw them. So if you can identify things like that, you could eventually get into the flow of pretty much reverse engineering what you want to draw. Now, I know I mentioned these things, but it goes a lot deeper. Like, sometimes you may find something like a shape, and you may have to learn how to draw and execute that shape. You may learn that you may be able to break it down into simpler forms. Like, a big benefit is drawing an axis, and drawing thinner ellipses to show perhaps like a branch. And I'm gonna try to keep the same width of the ellipses throughout. But yeah, it's very important to do that. I mean, it's just important to have a certain level of what some people would say are the fundamentals. I don't know all of the fundamentals yet. I'm really trying to learn them. I took a couple courses and I've read a couple books on this stuff, so I don't know everything yet, but I feel like I'm always getting closer to the truth. And pretty much, you're always going to run into an unknown, but I could rely on my past knowledge to make it unknown, if that makes sense. The other thing I would say is spending a greater deal of time looking at the thing you want to draw. The reason is, I feel like the longer you look at something and observe it, the more you can decipher from it. And if you take things calmly, you'll be able to reverse engineer it a lot better. I feel like in this day and age, everything's very focused on just pushing out stuff again, 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 really fast. Doesn't matter how often, but just like often. And I think it causes, it's kind of bad, because we're not primed to always be trying to make stuff all of the time. I mean, when I say that, I mean like feeding some type of social media algorithm, and I feel like that can really do people harm. Like, I think it's important to really try to be in it for yourself, not in it for an algorithm of any type. And perhaps that's a flaw of mine, because I've been making a ton of videos, and of course it's to benefit everyone, but I also must admit that it does help the algorithm with promoting my content. And I also have realized that like my knowledge of drawing things goes a lot further than just, well, how do I put it? I've learned a lot of different stuff in drawing, but being able to apply it in a way that gets it promoted by the algorithm isn't always the easiest. Because I feel like a lot of things in drawing are just very, very boring. And perhaps the algorithm, like, we say it as a scary boogeyman type thing, and it's really just the people. So I feel like in this video I should say that don't let don't let social media become like an unknown because to that it could perhaps cause you to not really put in the time and effort to put in the fundamentals. You know, like no one would be interested, like very few people would be interested in watching someone just draw lines all the time to get drawing confidence. So if you think of it in terms like that, you would know that like to really decipher all of the unknowns, you really have to look at things for long periods of time. You have to make a lot of ugly work. You have to make a lot of terrible drawings to even get a sliver good. But know that it is worth it, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But the other thing I would say is never stop learning. Always be learning, because I feel like when I learned a bunch of different drawing techniques and like stuff, some stuff just didn't stick, and my brain decided to chuck it out the window. And I'm like, why wouldn't I like, I may rediscover stuff and make a video about it. And I will admit, sometimes when I do that, it's because it helps me reinforce some of my knowledge. So, uh, definitely a benefit to me making videos on certain topics, especially when I feel like it's a big discovery. But the other thing you should know is if you watch that video, just because you're watching it may not mean you understand it. Like, you may understand a sliver of it, but until you actually uh, go forth and draw it, I feel like you won't get the same level of understanding as I would have when I made it. So yeah, there's a lot to take in. I would also say absorbing it over longer periods of time, not wanting to be in a rush to learn it all at once. Like when I was starting out, I was really just interested in learning it all at once, and I wasn't really interested in doing anything else. I just wanted to get the fundamentals down so I could finally draw, and I didn't understand that it takes a long time to really absorb all of those fundamentals, which is extremely frustrating because I want to eventually do oil painting, but I need to get my main technical skills to a high level of confidence. I really need to do more detailed drawings of various things, and I think I'll probably make videos of that on that channel, but I'll probably also do a lot of work that won't show up, like a lot of work that I will make for the experience, and then I will just like throw away in a trash bin because I learned it. Perhaps it is good to save your older work. Perhaps you could even reference it sometimes to make the unknown known. I do recommend that if it could help you, but know that the main goal is to internalize it, have it in your head so you don't have to look at it. Like, think about school, right? In school, or university or college or wherever it is, wherever you go, they would make you memorize like a lot of stuff in a very small period of time. And after you would take a test or exam, sometimes maybe it would just, you would forget it, or it would your mind would chuck it out the door because you didn't need it until finals time comes around, and or midterms, and then you really need it. So just know that it may just take a lot of practice until you could really get it within your system. But yeah, I would say even with that, you are going to run into unknown unknowns, and I would say at that point, you may need to ask for help. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Like, you may need to find someone, ask someone, a professional doing something, how they could draw this thing, or like if you're struggling with a very specific thing in the drawing, you could ask their expertise how to do it. Like, I would never. I mean, like, I wish I could help everyone with everything, but I have to say I will never know everything because there's just too much. I would say with bugs, I know a little bit. I don't know everything, but I could help answer questions like that. But like when it comes to cars, I mean, I just don't know anything about cars. I tried drawing cars once and it was just completely awful. Um, they're just really hard to draw, and I felt like I wasn't even drawing. I felt like I was drafting. with tools rather than freehanding stuff. But the important thing with that is if you have a car question, find someone who's an expert in cars. Like, you see, it makes sense. So I hope that helped cover a lot of, the categories. And I guess the last one I forgot to mention was the known unknowns. But I feel like when it comes to that, that's when trying to find someone that I just mentioned, like trying to find a professional who draws that, or someone who you think is good at drawing that, to ask them how to draw it. But yeah, I hope that helps you. If you have a question, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll try to answer it, or you could email me. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. If you like this video, please like it. But yeah, thank you for listening. Bye.